Hey, what is going on? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ftio, where we take everything from the inside of our minds and inside of our hearts and take that out to you, the viewers. Check this out, y'all. I am super excited for tonight. I have two special guests tonight, that are with me. And if you're just tuning in for the very first time, I'm Bro Rider Inspiration Guy. Again, starting the FTIO Live podcast. We are back in the game. I know it's been a while since I've been putting out content, but we are taking things to the next level. For those of you who've been following me since the pandemic, you know it's all about adding value, providing that personal development, just inspiring folks from the inside out, because that's where it all starts. So every episode is going to have different interviewees that have different stories. And like I've said before, having a platform is a beautiful thing. But one of the things that I really want to do with this platform is I want to be able to highlight those who have inspired me personally, local heroes, people who maybe don't even have a platform that have inspired me in so many ways, because I think highlighting them and giving them and sharing their voice and lighting them is definitely something that I plan to do with this podcast. And it will be available on YouTube. It will be available on audio podcast. So stay tuned for that. So we are on Facebook right now. We are on YouTube. And if you are with us, drop a comment, say what's up. Let us know where you are tuning in from, even on the replay. So this podcast, again, is going to really be an opportunity for us to just get to know people who have inspired me a little bit more. So with further ado, I have our guest tonight. Lauren and Joey Hoey. So before I bring them on, quick story about Joey Hoey. So I remember, matter of fact, let me just go ahead and bring them on the stream. So quick story. Good evening, y'all.
Good evening.
Try that one more time. Do a little mic check.
Mic check.
You there?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. So yeah. Perfect. I was like, so quick story, Joey. So my first impression, or my first time hearing your name, I was at Napa State Hospital, and I was into CrossFit, right? CrossFit Solano in Fairfield, when I first started getting into it. And I don't know if I'm pretty sure the name rings a bell. Shannon Duckworth.
Well,
is that
before she was married? Yeah.
Yes, before she was married. So Shannon Duckworth and I, we were like legit like working together in Napa State Hospital, and she was like coming in like either like just really getting into her fitness, and I was like, girl, what you been up to? And she was like, do you know Joey Hoey? And I was like, no, but that name sounds cool. And then she goes, yeah, he's a trainer, he does this. And then like we would talk about different workouts, and one of my most memorable moments or things that she'd talk about was the water jugs. She would talk about how you would like fill up water jugs and make her work out with water jugs. And I was like, man, my man is serious. And so since that time that she mentioned you about being a personal trainer, working out of your garage. Now, mind you, I want to say this was like, was it 2014 maybe, or before that? Was it 20?
It was probably like 2010, maybe.
Okay.
Somewhere around that, yeah.
Yeah, it was years ago. So the fact that, when she shared about you and what I was like, so what is it about this guy that makes you want to train in his garage and, pay and do all this? She was like, he's passionate about what he does. He knows what he's talking about, and he's a good dude. So your name obviously is not one to forget. So Joey Hoey is definitely memorable. And so that was my very first impression of you. We got some comments here. Let's see. We got Austin on the stream. What's going on, Austin? Yeah. And then we got Roland Thomas. What's going on, Roland? Thank you for tuning in today. So again, Lauren and Joey Hoey, a power couple like no other, the 1,718-pound couple, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So if you can, both of y'all could just share a little bit about yourselves, introduce yourselves, let our audience know who you are.
I'll go first. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Hoey. I'm 31 years old. We live here in Benicia in the Bay Area, so NorCal. Currently, we're running our business. We've had a gym the last 8 years. We're running our business. We've made a quick pivot to our home. So We've downsized, but still looking to make a big impact from small place. I am a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I work with clients individually. And I'm also a trainer with our business, the Fitness Coalition, and also a clean beauty advocate. So I've been working with Beauty Counter as a consultant for the last year and a half. Your turn, Brad.
I think that's my time to go. My name is Joey Hoey. 34 years old. I have been a lifelong martial artist. I've been doing martial arts since I was 4 years old. I wanted to be a ninja, so my father put me into martial arts, and I've been doing it ever since. We've owned our own business now, small business owners, the last 8 years. Started inside of our garage, built up into a phenomenal facility, but then when COVID hit, we needed to take a pivot. And now we've come back to our garage, so it's full circle where we started. And it's I'm horrible at talking about myself, but yeah, like we were saying, I'm extremely passionate about what we do, and we're just trying to make change in people's lives, and we've been doing that for the last 8 years, and we're continuing to try to do that even now during this crazy, weird time, and trying to be that beacon of light that people need, that positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely are going to talk more about, the pivots that you made during the pandemic and even now, right? We're still making adjustments, but let's just rewind just a little bit. So you're training out of your garage. Where were you working at the time of that? Like, were you doing that full time out of your garage when you were training back in 2010 or when you were coaching back in 2010?
Yeah, so, we officially became the Fitness Coalition end of November of 2011. We were out in Cordelia. I was working a job that I absolutely hated, and there was just like a voice in my head that was like, "Hey man, you just got to go for this." Because I was always thinking like, "I should just open up my own gym." I was doing personal training for a while, but I wasn't really looking at it as a career. I was just looking at it as a job. So when I wasn't making enough money, I was just kind of like, forget it. Let me find a job that pays the bills. But when I did that, I absolutely hated what I was doing. So it was kind of like it paid the bills, but it wasn't very, didn't really fill my cup. So I had this voice in my head that was like, dude, just open your own gym. Open your own gym. Just do it. So yeah, I went on my lunch break one day and I signed up for a CrossFit cert. And that was when they were going like hotcakes, like way back in the day. And I just told myself, I was like, if I can sign up for this cert, I'm just going to leave my job and go all in. So I went on the CrossFit website, put in my information, put in my card, signed up, turned on my keys, and I left. I don't really advise people to do that because that probably wasn't like the most professional move to do. But like in my head, like that was when I just jumped off the diving board into the deep end. And that was the start of me doing and going all in. And then from there, I convinced my buddy to let me turn half of their 2-car garage into a gym, ordered some equipment from Rogue. And I was literally all in at that point. I had no backup plan, and that was it for me.
Wow. And it's crazy, right? Because, when I think about back then, when it came to, CrossFit level 1, certs, and, anybody with a CrossFit level 1 was able to open up a gym pretty much at some point. And that was kind of everybody's thing. Everybody was into fitness, the community. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of great, CrossFit gyms out there. But I think what ended up happening was a lot of people started branching out from the CrossFit brand and started creating their own community. And that's actually something that I noticed that you did that really caught my eye because, well, first of all, let me just applaud you for even lasting as long as you did. When you got that level 1 cert and then you started training and then you got your physical location. I remember the one thing about your location was that you actually didn't focus on CrossFit, even when it came to branding, when it came to programming. I always knew your gym to be the local strongman gym, powerlifting gym. So can you take us through just a little bit of the process of how you even went from veering away and carving out kind of your own niche when it came to fitness, and what made you decide to go the direction that you went?
So for us, like, we decided to brand away, like you said, from CrossFit at the very beginning. Like we were an affiliate, but we use that just to get our foot in the door so that we can get some traffic online if people looked up like CrossFit in our areas. But I didn't want to rely solely on the CrossFit name because I always had in the back of my head, like, what if CrossFit ever died, right? Like, what if CrossFit just wasn't a thing anymore? How are you supposed to kind of be your own thing? So we decided the Fitness Coalition because the coalition, and in the beginning, my train of thought was I wanted to have like everything under one roof. So coalition essentially is like a lot of different common causes coming together for like one thing. And for me, I wanted to have, massage therapy and physical therapy and be able to nutrition and all the stuff like under one roof. So when we went in that direction, it was like, well, we're a CrossFit gym, and it always irked me when people would be like, hey, you're a CrossFit gym. Like, but we're not, we're not a CrossFit gym. So it was always the thing that I needed to constantly try new stuff. And I didn't want to just say we're one thing. So like the strongman came into play, and the powerlifting, Lauren was the one that essentially kind of got us into the powerlifting for the most part. And I kind of just rode on her coattails because she's the stronger one in the relationship anyway. I can't always do the same thing over and over and over. And that's what kind of bugged me with CrossFit is it was like the same movements over and over and over. And it just wasn't as much fun as flipping tires and throwing big stones and carrying heavy yokes on your back and deadlifting really heavy weight and, just doing all this stuff that like you typically normally wouldn't do. If it wasn't for CrossFit though, I probably wouldn't have dabbled in all of these different things. So I can't knock CrossFit for that sense because it is kind of like I said, what got our foot in the door. But once we like got our foot in the door, we kind of stepped back and just kicked the door open and just figured out like, hey, this is fun and this is fun and doing this stuff's fun too. So how can we take all of this stuff and pull a little bit from here and pull a little bit from there, take something that we like from here, steal a little bit from here, and then we kind of all put it in a little pot, stirred it up, and we're like, hey, this is really, really fun, and that was kind of like what you say, it's kind of set us apart because we weren't following the same program as everybody else. Like we were doing different stuff. And anytime people came to our gym, they're like, hey, we've never done this before. It's like, cool. Well, is it fun? Hell yeah. Cool. Awesome. Do you feel fit? Yes. Are you happy? Yes. You feeling stronger? Yes. You feeling more confident? Absolutely. So like doing everything that we did kind of checked a lot of boxes, and we just kind of evolved with it over the years and just kept bringing new stuff in and new stuff in and new stuff in. And we were never afraid to try and look silly. And you're never going to know what works unless you kind of give it that good, honest try, And if we wouldn't have done that, then we wouldn't have been we wouldn't have been the Fitness Coalition,
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm, again, the theme here is you took the leap, right? You took the risk of putting all your, going all in getting your CrossFit level 1 and then opening up something so that you can see where that goes. And now to the Fitness Coalition. But you did say something that, I'm curious about. So you said that Strongman was actually introduced to you through Lauren. So Lauren, I'm curious again, and we talked earlier, for those who don't know, they are married 4 years going on 5. Congrats in advance. But I'm curious to know, what was that like? How did your strongman influence, like how did you meet? Like take us through that, Lauren, so we can get a little idea of how that worked out.
Yeah, so I think what you were saying is I actually brought powerlifting into the gym. I was the first female competitor that we had. And I decided to make it less about me and more about creating a space mostly for women. Like for one, I didn't like training by myself. So I created my ladies only strength program because I invited ladies to train with me on Friday nights. It would just be like this fun thing. And I wanted to make strength training accessible. for every woman. So it was something that I started as my own little kind of passion project. But as I started going into competing, I noticed I started to inspire others in our gym, and we created like this massive, I call them my girl gang, gang of girls that we would go around to local competitions, and I just got to see them develop into these super strong, super amazing women that I got to train with. So it was like this really cool snowball effect. But I've been strength training for years. I danced in high school, always played team sports. Right after high school, I got really into weight training, like classic bodybuilding. That was my introduction to weightlifting. So, you know, bis and tris.
Chest on Monday.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. And real quick, what high school did you go to? Were you here in the Benicia Fairfield area or?
High.
I'm sorry?
Benicia High.
Okay, yeah. So Benicia, so you're Panther. All right, shout out to the Panthers. And we'll definitely be sure to shout out your girl gang, because I do have some questions about some of those opportunities or those nights that you were having those strong lifting sessions. So Benicia High, and then after Benicia, you were in competitive sports, and then you went into the bodybuilding lane. Okay, so take us from there, and if you could like lead up to even how you and Joey crossed paths.
Yeah, so in the midst of the bodybuilding, I had a friend that knew how into my fitness I had gotten, and she said, "Oh, you should try CrossFit." And she's like, "I just think naturally you'll just be really good with it. Like, you should just come with me to a class and try it out." I'm like, "Okay." So my first experience was at CrossFit Vallejo with Coach Lai, and I was knocking out pull-ups my first time there, and she was like, "Oh, we got to get you competing. We got to do this. We got to do that. I'm so excited that you're here." And I was like, "Oh man, I think I just stepped into something that I might really." So get further into that, and my twin sister, actually, her boyfriend at the time was training in an MMA gym where Joey trained, and he had also started getting into CrossFit and local competitions and stuff like that. So somehow we became friends on Facebook and got to know each other that way. And then I ended up seeing him at a local competition in Vacaville, and I'll never forget. He shows up late. There's a 5K run first thing, and he's like wearing his Vibram toe shoes
that I still wear
and a green bandana around his head. He's like, "All right, let's do this 5K." And then he just laps me like a couple times. And later on, during like one of the little floater workouts, we were doing broad jumps, and I went right up to him and introduced myself, because I'm like, "Hey, you're Joey. Like, we're friends on Facebook, but we haven't officially met." So I introduced myself, and then he starts coaching me on how to broad jump. So that was our first experience getting to know each other a little bit that day. And then we just kept in touch after that. And our first date was actually a workout at Wine Country CrossFit.
Yep.
All right. So hold on real quick. Your first date was a CrossFit workout. So can you kind of take us, how did that transpire? What was like, how did that work out? Not the workout, but how did you get there?
All right. So this is how it started for Lauren and I. She mentioned that her sister Ashley was dating a guy that was on my fight team. That was when I was competitively fighting in MMA. So I would see Lauren in Ashley's pictures on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" You know, so I would like check out, and I added her, friended her, right? And I was like, "Hey, Ashley, I'm gonna marry you." I told her this. I swear to God, you can ask Ashley to this day. If you look at our instant messages on Facebook and scroll all the way to the beginning, you'll see me saying to Ashley, "I'm going to marry your sister." But I used CrossFit and the Open specifically to slide into Lauren's DMs, because it was a very easy way to start the conversation. I'd be like, "Hey, what do you think of 12.1 or whatever number, you know what I'm saying? Whatever number it was for the Open." And, "Oh yeah, it sucks." And I was like, "Yeah, it was horrible." And then next week, "What do you think of this one?" And then, "What do you think of that one?" So we kind of started talking online a little bit. You know, it wasn't anything crazy. Like, we were literally just talking about the Open. That was it, right? And then we saw each other at the competition. And yes, I coached her a little bit. That was just my thing, right? I was trying to help. And then, we kind of like just kept talking from there. And I was coaching at Wine Country CrossFit at that time. and I was like, hey, let's work out. I mean, that was literally it. It was like, hey, let's go work out. It was like, all right, cool. It was like, all right, we'll go to my gym, Wine Country CrossFit. And then we did some workout. And it was weird because she's so upper body strong and I'm so not upper body strong that we were doing some workout with like push-ups or whatever. And I'll never forget. I was like, it was max rep something. I was like, what'd you get? She's like, 25. I was like, I got 25. And then we were like, hey, what'd you get on this next round? 24. I got 24. I was all, what the hell's going on? You know what I mean? And then ever since then, we've been like inseparable. You know, I mean, it was
That's
like
awesome.
Continuously keep talking. We're hanging out more and more, and that was pretty much a wrap. You know, that was it.
Yeah, again, another reason, right? We don't knock CrossFit, completely in that sense, because it introduced us to so many different things. And I know for myself personally, through CrossFit Solano, anyway, let's shout out all the OG CrossFits, right? CrossFit Vallejo, shout out to Lai, Coach Lai. And then, Wine Country, was that Ruben's gym? Yeah. Was that?
Oh, that's Beth Rippin.
Oh, Beth. Okay.
This is Napa Valley.
Oh, Napa Valley. Yep. My bad. So, so all the different CrossFits and for me, it introduced me to Olympic weightlifting, which is what I'm actually planning to compete back in again. Because again, just like you said, just doing something different, but finding really what your fitness is. And I think that's something that CrossFit did for a lot of people. It helped you realize a little bit more of maybe something that might be more your passion, more your lane, but also throwing in the different variations. And I think the Fitness Coalition definitely was great. And I remember when Kenny and I came and we installed your rigs.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Those times we actually met, if I'm not.
Yeah. Right? That was the first time we actually met. Coach Kenny was like, hey, you want to come with me, help me, set up these rigs, because he actually was doing mine in my garage as well around the same time. And so you had the lime green and the black, and then I was like, man, and that's when we actually connected. So it's really great to see how this is unfolding. And so so real quick, I know at the Fitness Coalition, I saw, speaking of girl gangs, and shout out to you, Lauren, for really literally empowering women, like literally, like whether it's with the lifts, whether it's the powerlifting. But I did notice there was a couple other niche groups that you had, that you started or were a part of, and you could correct me on that. But I remember, so you had like the Friday night with just the ladies, and then was there something fitness around women who are pregnant or postpartum or something of that nature? Can you share with us a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really interesting. Again, as you have already a specific niche with the Fitness Coalition, you even niche down even more. And I thought that was really great. So if you could just kind of share with us what that was about for you, or how was that inspired?
Yeah. So it really just organically came up, right? We created this gym, we created this place for people to come train and become, the best versions of themselves. And that doesn't stop when you become pregnant or even after. So we wanted to create a environment where all those women could be together, right? And train with intent, right? Train for pregnancy. We focus a lot on the whole person in that program, where there's nutrition, there's mindset, there's breath work. It's really just setting an ideal scene for, the birth that you'd like to have, putting you in a space with other mamas that may be going through something similar that you can talk to them about and relate to them about, and have that time for yourself too, which I think is really important for us women to have, that, even if it's just an hour a day for you. I really wanted that for them. So another coach at the time that we had, Melissa, and I created the prenatal and postpartum series classes as birth fit coaches, and brought that into the Fitness Coalition. And we created some really amazing relationships. And I have a client still to this day that I trained personally that came out of that program. So it's really amazing to see the women evolve through, entering our gym their very first day, and then becoming pregnant, still training all the way. We had a woman train up to 40 weeks beyond past her due date, just doing amazing. And then you see these little amazing babies come in the gym when they're training afterwards. And it's honestly so cool and so rewarding to be able to take them through that whole motherhood transition.
Oh, that's great. And again, right, really, really niching down with the different programs that you had. So let's take this back just a little bit. So you opened up Fitness Coalition. Now you introduced powerlifting in the 17, 18 pound couple. So let's break down the numbers real quick. So I know, Joey, you shared with me, and I asked them to give me their best bench, squat, and dead, because I believe those are the lifts, the three main lifts in a powerlifting competition. And so let's go ahead and break the numbers down. Matter of fact, if anybody's watching, let's do this. If you can type in the comments, who do you think had well, actually, let's do this. I would like to do a survey. That'd be kind of cool, but that was last minute. So let's just let's just go with let's start with the squat. With the squat, who do you think has a heavier squat? If anybody's in the comments, there's 5 folks on right now. If you want to type in the comments, Lauren or Joey, you could put L or J. Who do you think has the heavier squat? Well, I don't know if they're going to respond right away, but go ahead and let's break those numbers down. So what were those 3 numbers for you? Yep.
For me, so we'll start with bench. My best bench is 210. My best deadlift is 363 the last time I competed, and squat is 305.
Beautiful. So look at that. So bench press 210, deadlift 363, and you said your back squat was 305? Mm-hmm. Nice. And I love how you said in competition, right? Because I remember always working out with Martha Ebel. Shout out to Martha Ebel. She was an Olympic weightlifter. We went to church together, and I felt so bad. My first powerlifting meet, sidebar, first powerlifting meet at Old School, I just decided, let me just give it a try. Kenny was like, let's do this. So I just did a push-pull. And I remember seeing Martha Ebel, older lady, maybe in her 60s at the time, and she had this Olympic weightlifting shirt on. And I remember seeing her, and mind you, I only knew her from church. So here I am the day before the competition where we're weighing in. I see Martha, and I'm like, hey, Martha, are you volunteering? Worst question to ask. She says, no, I'm looking for a gym. And I was like, exactly. And so she was like, no, I'm looking for a gym to train at. And I was like, Old School Iron. Definitely shout out to Old School, where the environment there is just, it wasn't something that again, my own assumption, thought that she was going to be looking for. But she ended up training there for a little while, doing some powerlifting with all the guys out there. And then I found out she was an Olympic weightlifter, has a couple titles under her belt. And her number one thing that she would always say, because she would come even train in my garage, she was always like, put it on the platform. All this training you're doing, everything that you're about, put it on the platform. And then there you have, and then she's like, because then that way you'll have something to measure. You can't measure your training PRs or what you did on this day or that day. Like, she was very like, to all the lifters in my gym, from the youngest ones to the oldest ones, she was always like, put it on the platform. So when you said, yeah, my last competition, I was like, yeah, right. Like, that's the mindset, because that's what it's about, is being able to take it to the platform, and the platform's going to look different for everyone. So, all right, cool. And then Joey, what are your three numbers for those 3 power lifts?
Yeah, so my squat's 390, bench is 225, super pathetic. My deadlift's 525.
Whoo, look at that. 525 dead, 395. You said squat?
390.
Yeah, 390. And I remember when you did text me the bench, and I was like, I was kind of caught off guard, only because if you've ever met Joey, my man is grounded and solid, top down. So when you said 225, I was a little caught off guard too. But yes, great. So that equals 718, y'all. So if you're curious on the thumbnail, so let's jump into this. So now we're here at the Fitness Coalition, and what would your, again, this is health and wellness. I see strongman as a niche. Mixed martial arts, is that something that you're coaching or training, or is that more of just like kind of your own personal type of training for yourself, Joey?
So it would just be more personal training. Years ago I competed. I had a couple fights inside the cage, and that's where I thought I was going to be taking a chance in a career. But it just didn't end up working out, and I went the gym route. Thought that would be more safer and probably last a little bit longer. But it would just be kind of personal preference. I mean, I still compete in martial arts to this day. and use the training that we do to help prepare me for my matches and stuff like that. So
that's awesome. And I even seeing you pleasantly surprised when I saw you both last week at Solano County Strength and Conditioning. Shout out to Katie Italiano, owner, operator, coach, holding it down on that side of Fairfield, and getting trained by you. I think, like you said, that was the first time that you actually coached me, and all the movements you were doing and all the movements we were doing, I should say, felt really good to again learn the mechanics. And that's something I've always appreciated about your style. And just everything that I've done every time I would come, even when I was in your gym, just the way that you take care of your clients, your athletes, from the truly most functional purpose, I think is something that I really notice and appreciate about your style of coaching. And it shows. Like, here you are, 10 years later, right? Circumstances might have changed a little different, but your coaching is just getting better and better as the days goes on. So Fitness Coalition, now here you are, now you're creating all these different programs, and you're a couple. So how was that for both of you? Let's talk a little bit about being a serious couple, both competing, coaching in your own way. And, again, there's life outside of the gym, and sometimes it doesn't feel like that. But if you can kind of take us through a little bit about that journey, some of the, the highlights, some of the lowlights, some of the, maybe a story where, you really had to pick each other up because you're maybe ready to shut down, like anything that comes to mind in terms of, like, to give us an idea of what it was like, going through it. And of course we're going to get to where we are today, but yeah, like the pre-marriage, during marriage, like the whole thing, planning a wedding and owning a gym. What was that like?
Yeah. So when I first met Joey and we had that first date shortly after that competition, I found out that he had this garage gym and he was actually outgrowing it. Like, I went to visit the garage and I was like, holy moly, you've got all these people, get on out of here and open a facility. And he goes, oh yeah, that's what I intend on doing. I'm just trying to find the space. So I don't know, a few months later, we had a wish list of equipment together that he worked on, and they got keys to a place, him and his old roommate at the time, and they were doing it. They were opening a facility, and it was all kind of happening really fast at the very beginning of our relationship. And it was scary for me because I'm like, I'm just getting to know this guy and he's opening a business, and I think things are getting pretty serious between us. So let's just see where this goes. So I was all in too. And I was like, I'm just here to help, whatever you need. I'm all about it too. And I think one thing that clicked between us, pretty instantly, was that we both were really passionate about what we did, and we both really love working with people. So we knew that it was going to be a good thing, whatever happened. So yeah, opening a gym together, I think, was one of the highlights. That was a really exciting day for us. And just, developing a community together and creating, the business that Joey always wanted. Where it does get tough is I've always had a full-time job in the midst of all this. So I always felt kind of guilty at times, or that I, was falling a little bit short because I couldn't help as much as I wanted to or coach as much as I wanted to. So that was always kind of difficult. People have always called us crazy because we work together, live together, got married, do everything together. So I'd say we work together pretty well. It's our coach athlete relationship that was a little harder. I, for some reason, have a hard time taking direction from Joey when it comes to my competition training and things that he would see that I need to work on versus what my coach was telling me I should be doing, and making those tweaks for me to get better, of course, with my own best interest in mind. So I always just kind of gave him a little bit of pushback with everything, but we're always able to get through it. Planning a wedding while owning a business was interesting. But we handled it. I mean, that was great. I think we were a little scared because, as small business owners, and trying to go on a honeymoon, we were kind of like, oh, geez, it's really just the two of us that run classes. How are we going to make this work? We're going to have to close. So we were really scared for some reason to tell our members, hey, we're going to close for a week and go to Hawaii and enjoy our honeymoon. But it ended up being like,
everyone was cool with it.
Yeah, an outpouring of love. They're like, go on vacation, close down.
You deserve it,
fine.
whatever.
Yeah, so that was amazing and a really good feeling because you're like, oh, okay, like we're not letting everybody down. And I would say one of the more difficult things is that you're in the business so much that you don't always take those yearly vacations or that time off that you need. And Joey has always had a difficult time like separating home life and business at times because he's like, I got to do this, I got to do that, we got to be ready for tomorrow, I got to get this programming done, this person reached out to me, I need to get back to them. So it's kind of like that never ending grind like entrepreneurs have, and me always being in different lines of work too, like just trying to, I think, find time as a couple has always been difficult to kind of separate that time and not talk work when we're home together. So we've really had to do some work on that. And we work with a family success coach. So she has actually made our life amazing. We've learned how to communicate better. We're actually closer now than we've ever been. And there's no shame in that. I want everyone to know that. Like there is no shame in therapy or talking to someone and help building your relationship. I think that's made a giant difference with us. And I'd say the hardest thing that we've gone through was closing that big gym space that we just did in the end of June. Telling everyone we were closing, and breaking the news to everyone broke our hearts. And, we couldn't physically see them to break the news either, which was even weirder. So we had to get on like our private Facebook group and do this live video exchange where we're both just completely in tears. Like, hey guys, we don't want to do this, but we have to do this. And we'll hope that you stick with us no matter what happens. And it was just like, it was a big deal. And I think we still struggle with it a little bit because
I for sure do.
Joey, for sure. I know he feels like it's a piece of him. So it's hard still to kind of separate things a little bit. But if that hadn't happened, I don't think that these other good things that are going on for us right now would be happening. So as sad and hard as it's been, it's, there are some silver linings that we're excited about.
Yeah. I mean, owning a gym is freaking hard.
Yeah.
Like really hard. And you don't have a manual when you open a gym to give you the instructions that you feel you're going to need, right? You have to find out what works and what doesn't work. And I mean, that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, but people don't tell you, right? Because it's not that a lot of people own gyms, but it's like, you don't know going into it, like how time consuming it's going to be. Like, that you're going to be working, but for me, once I clocked in, I never clocked out. And it was really hard for me, like Lauren said, to separate the time from work and personal. And it was like blinders constantly because, I'm coaching damn near all the classes. I'm writing the programming. I'm doing the social media. I'm getting back to people for follow-ups to set up consultations, et cetera, et cetera. I'm the janitor. I'm the, you know what I mean? I'm the custodian. I'm, whatever the gym needs, like I'm putting on that hat, then I'm taking off that one, putting on the other one. And it's constantly that way. And I loved it. That was what I did, but it's hard when you need to clock out, but even when you're done for the day, up here, you're not. And you kind of sort of put things, and I don't want to say like you put your significant other on the back burner, but it was, she would say, hey, I feel like, there's this huge gap. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? We're like at the gym together all night. And we're, but you fail to kind of separate the two. And that was a huge fault of mine, was I could never separate the two. And how she mentioned when we started working with our friend Emily, it kind of was like, oh man, like I understand now. I get it. Like, there's more to life than just the grind, like the grind's not that cool. If anyone's listening and you're getting ready to start a business or you want to start a business, like I'm gonna be real with you. The grind is not as glorified as it is, right? It's really not. it's a cool thing to say, like, I'm grinding, but damn if that grind doesn't wear down on you after a while, you know?
Absolutely.
And if you can't separate yourself from it, it's going to kill you. And that's not a good place to be, because that's where burnout happens. That's where you start questioning, why am I even doing this? You know, like the passion starts to go, and that's a normal thing. I get it. But like, if you're not able to start coming back up, it's not fun, you know? And there were some really dark times and there were some really good times. But, you know, owning a business and being in a relationship, you know, fellow business owners, we owned it together. You know, it's been an amazing ride. We've met some phenomenal people. We've created phenomenal relationships. We've helped change hundreds, if not thousands of people's lives. We've made a forever impression on people. People have met and gotten married and had kids and started relationships inside of our gym. And, you know, for that, it makes all of those hard times like really, really worth it. And I wouldn't change anything that we did. You know, if I could go back and do it again, I would do it all over again. But it's good that, you know, we've learned the lessons that we've learned, because now we can take those, and now with this next chapter in life, we can kind of build upon all that stuff, you know? So
yeah, no, absolutely. And man, so many things coming up for me as you're both sharing, right? Like, number one, don't be afraid to get help. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. And I work in elementary schools and middle schools, and, you know, for my social emotional learning work. And that's what we're about. Like, ask for help. Nothing wrong with asking for help, especially when it comes to your relationships and working on that, you know, hence why part of my pivot is going to be going into more personal development coaching, because I believe that we always have to be developed. Now, personal development can be spiritual development. It can be physical development. It can be, you know, all different type professional development, but nonetheless, keyword development. And I think that's something that's important. I love that you both highlighted and agreed that, you know, developing yourself as a couple, right? Being married almost 5 years. Danielle and I, we just had our 12-year anniversary, and, you know, kind of a place that we're in because of our pivot, like, how can I be pandemic proof? What value can I add from afar online? What can I provide or produce that can provide for my family is kind of my mindset right now. And I started thinking about, like, okay, you know, since I left my full-time job at Napa State Hospital, safe, steady, secure, my heart wasn't beating hard enough. So I'm feeling you on just like what drives you. So I left the state job. I left everything, you know, didn't look back. And so here we are 5 years later, and we've just been building the momentum little by little by little. And I've had, again, the blessing and the opportunities that I've had are just continuing to allow me to grow professionally. But also there was a point where, very similar to where you were at, I was kind of gung-ho, all in, you know, marriage wasn't on the back burner, but it wasn't high on the priority list. Right. We were with each other, but we weren't with each other. And that's when I started realizing, again, how can we do this together? So we actually got to a point where anytime I have a gig or an opportunity, you know, we pray on it together, we discern it together, so that whenever I go out, wherever it is, local or far, I know 100% that this was a decision that we both agreed on, versus it was just easy for me to hide in my work. Right. I'm pretty sure, like, you could just be fighting and not getting along and just go to the gym. I got to coach. I got to do this. Let me do my thing. And, you know, it was so easy to hide in that kind of, you know, situation. And so now, as we're pivoting, I was thinking the other day, how am I going to level up? What does that look like? And so I had a heart to heart with Danielle, and if, you know, I'm just going to say it. So we had a heart to heart, and I said, we've done our best every time you and I were on the same page. Every time you and I were, like, you know, connected, we did better. And I said, so if I'm really looking to take everything to the next level, right, we can dream alone, but we can't grow alone. And our marriage isn't bad. I think our marriage is great. But now it's like, how do we take that even to the next level? So we actually are doing the DISC assessment. And we did a DISC assessment so we can learn our personality styles and really just even take what we know, you know, our communication now, and just level that up. So I really just want to, you know, shout you both out for owning that and being real with that. And the fruit right? The fruit of that is going to be beautiful. And I know, Joey, that was your dream. The gym was your dream and your baby. So with the pandemic, just everything, letting that go, right, is never easy, even though you still have a connection with your clients. Because I know, again, even with us just leaving, right, there's so many things we're leaving behind. But I will say that I'm excited to see what the future has for you. And I know just recently, again, Joey, the Fitness Coalition was kind of what started for you. And now, Lauren, you have a new endeavor that you just started with fitness and nutrition. So, yeah, if you can let us know a little bit about what you're doing now with nutrition and health.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, I've been working with clients personally in sports nutrition for over 5 years. But the last 1.5 to 2 years, through my schooling with the Nutritional Therapy Association, I really wanted to focus more on the whole person. And what I loved it when I came out of that program is, okay, let's look at bio-individuality, and what works for you might not work for someone else. And we really need to look at that and look more at the person beyond just what they're eating, because I think that's every nutritional protocol and program out there is just addressing the food, right? There's all these other factors. There's our sleep, there's our stress, there's our lifestyle, there's this huge environment around you that you have to take a look at. And, it proves that you could have the best diet in the world, but if all these other factors are working against you, like, you're not going to see, the results of that. So I do the investigative work with clients on an individual level through holistic nutrition, and we really try to find something that works well for them, and we take into account all those little things. We start with the gut and try to make their digestion, the best that it can be, so that they're really absorbing and assimilating all of those nutrients that they're getting in, and they're just getting the most out of their food that they can. And they're really finding something that they can sustain for the long haul, and it's not just some 90-day crash diet. We want them to feel good and this to last forever.
Absolutely.
A lot more in-depth work than what I
started. Yeah. No, I'm definitely a believer in what you do. Got to give it up to my boy Dubando. Because I remember, man, I would see him at the gym. There were times he just had to get a quick session in here in Vacaville, and my man was swole and just cut up. And I was like, man, bro, what you been doing? He's like, man, Lo got me on this program. And he was telling me that he loved everything about the nutrition plan that you put him on. And I remember him saying, man, sometimes I can't even finish the food because we eat so much, in the sense that this is, I guess, doing the macros and really breaking it down from, just not only was proof in the pudding there, but even his mindset around eating and nutrition, you could definitely tell how far, he's come. So shout out to my boy Dubando. And I'm pretty sure, and I know you have so many other clients that have also benefited from your work. So when I saw that you launched, not necessarily full-time, but you launched your own platform. The website is out, and we'll be sure to get those links in the description so people that are local or not local. Do you do remote coaching training as well?
Yeah, I work with people all over.
Awesome. So that definitely will plug you there. So yeah, a true power couple. I really want to just take this moment to just admire and acknowledge you both for continuing to stay on the path. And like you said, Joey, people want the fruit, but they ain't willing to put in the work, man. They want the shine, but they are not ready to do the work for the shine. They want instant gratification. There was a story about this dude who had this nice decorations for Christmas, had all the lights on, and this youngster came up and was like, man, I want to do that one day. I want to have my house just shining like yours. And he goes, I'll help you out. And he was like, okay, cool. And he said, what I need you to do is meet me on December 26th. And dude was like, what? He said, but Christmas is going to be over. He said, no, December 26th, we buy all the lights for 75% off. Because he was like, I've been doing this for 30 years, doing the same thing, buying everything on sale and putting it all up and just going all out and then just adding on every year. And the whole idea was, most people just want it now. Yep. And while this dude, the OG, he doesn't have like this pseudo, gratification, this instant He's like, man, I've been doing this, and it's work, it's sacrifice, right? People just want it when it feels good. So just to, shout out to all those entrepreneurs out there that can praise. That's why I said praise the process, right? Not the reward. And I think too many times folks don't understand how much it really takes. So thank you for shedding light on that. For anyone out there considering, thinking of going out on your own and following your passion, not saying not to, but just know it's going to take it's going to take work. So, so thank you both for that. No, go ahead, bro.
I would say definitely, man. I mean, I've been that way since I was like a kid, like doing martial arts and all that stuff. Like you had to put in the work to earn the belts. If you didn't put in the work, you didn't earn the belt. If you didn't put in the work and you didn't pass the test, try again next year. You know what I mean? So it was like from an early age that just like work ethic was instilled. And like my dad drilled that into me too. It was like, if you want it, you're going to have to work for it. You know what I mean? So like, just that's how I've been ever since I was a kid. So it's really easy for me to like get into that mode, but it's really hard to get out of that mode sometimes too. You know what I mean? And that's where, you got to get some help sometimes.
Yeah, setting those boundaries. I keep trying to tell people gotta, know when to turn it on, turn it off. Like even tonight, because we are gonna see my parents, and Danielle's like, what time we leaving? I was like, trust, babe, I'm gonna get off the stream on time so that we can, be with our family in that way. So no, definitely. So let's do this. Top 5. I ask, what would be your top 5 tip strategy? Now you can either speak to a fellow entrepreneur that's trying to be in the space that you're in, or you can maybe give a top 5 for a potential client or someone that you might work with, or just anything that you want to share, anything you want to shed light on. What would be kind of like your top 5 tips, strategies, quotes for anybody doing what you're in the space that you're in?
Where you want me to go? Go ahead. All right, so these are in no particular order, right? I have a little bit more than 5, but I'll try to summarize and see which ones I feel are going to be the best, right? So for an entrepreneur, if you're starting a business, know your product inside and out. Because even just like I started working with a business coach about a year ago, I didn't even really know my own product. And I know that sounds weird, but you really need to know inside and out what it is that you're selling, right? Now, one that I feel is super huge, and I use the term like white belt mentality, is that you need to be always in constant search of knowledge about your craft. You need to be obsessed with what it is that you're doing. Hands down, you need to always be learning, because there is always something that you can learn. Always. Prioritize your health. That's huge. Prioritize your health. And that is mental health, physical health, sleep, nutrition. If you're trying to get on the grind and you are not at your 100%, you cannot give your best self to your clients or do your best work. So you need to make sure that you're prioritizing everything that you have in your control so that you can be the best that you possibly can be. That one's huge, and a lot of people neglect that because they feel that they need to be constantly grinding, late nights, early mornings. But if you're neglecting sleep and all of those type of things, trust me, those late nights, early mornings are going to take their toll, and you are not going to be giving your best work, and that is a disservice to your clients and the people that you're trying to serve. And that was a hard lesson that I had to learn. Another one, make sure that you don't neglect relationships that are important to you. That's a huge one. And that is one that you really need to keep in mind, because it's really easy to put the blinders on, right? That grind. It's super easy to put the blinders on. And like what we mentioned, bury yourself in work. It's cool to do that, right? That's glorified. But what's not glorified is what is happening outside of all the stuff you see on social media and everything. And that is making sure that you are giving love to the ones that love you, and you're not neglecting your personal relationships, because those are the ones that are going to be there when everything comes crumbling down, right? You need to have your solid foundation with your loved ones, because it's really easy to go, oh, they're going to be there, but that's not always true. And another one, especially if you are really passionate about something that may be weird or really niche or whatever, is don't let other people's opinions stray you from your path. If you're passionate about something, excuse my language, don't give a fuck what other people think. Okay? Even your family, your friends, people on social media, whatever. If you're passionate about something, freaking do it, right? Because if you love it, who cares? It's your passion. It's your love. You do what you need to do. And don't let anyone else's opinions keep you from doing what it is that you want to do. And I think those are going to be the most important ones.
I love that one. FOPO is a term that we use in the circles that I'm in, and we talk about FOPO, fear of other people's opinions. Yeah. You know, we got to get that out. No FOPO, y'all. FOPO is real. Fear of other people's opinions. And so thank you. I got your top 5 there scrolling on the bottom. So know your product. Always keep learning. Prioritize your health. Don't neglect those important relationships, and no FOPO. Yeah, definitely. And I know you are a well of more wisdom, but thank you for bringing it down to the top 5. And I know this will just be to be continued. How about for you, Lauren? What would be kind of your top 5 in your niche or in your space?
Continuing along the same lines, probably of ask for help.
Yeah, that's huge.
Speak to people who have done it and done it better than you. Don't be afraid to look silly. And I would say don't let fear hold you back. And my last one would probably be invest in your business.
Did you say invest in your business for that last one?
Yeah, well, in yourself and your business. So.
Okay. Yeah. No, and again, right, like as we're just really sharing, like you are both living up to this title, the power couple. And I want to just really thank you for your time. And as we're getting ready to wrap up, if you are watching this on the replay, or even if you're watching us live, I'm going to put some links in the description. And right now we just can shout them out. Like, where could they find you both? How can they get in contact with you outside of the fitnesscoalition.com? Is there any other links or plugs that you want to share so they can stay contacted with you both?
Yeah, so you can find us, the Fitness Coalition. We've got a site there. Also on Instagram at the Fitness Coalition to see what we're doing with the gym thing. And you can find me, my new website just launched, LaurenHoeyWellness.com. I also have an Instagram at LaurenHoeyWellness.
Yeah, and we have online training on Train Heroic. So we have a Girl Gang program, which is very similar. It's the same stuff that we were doing at the gym, program from Lauren and I. And then we also have a program that's specifically tailored more or less to the garage gym, but you can do it at any gym. And it's called Back to Basics. So if you go Heroic, Back to Basics, and the Girl Gang.
Sweet. So
yeah, if you're looking for online programming, we update it every week. We're constantly putting out workouts, and that's a way that we are staying in touch and still trying to help people as much as we can. So Lauren Hoey Wellness, the Fitness Coalition, and our programming on Train Heroic. That's how you support it.
Yes, definitely. And we know this is going to be the future, right? With having remote coaching, and really it's not about, can you find a remote coach? You can find them everywhere, but can you find a good one that, again, I feel like you both are the 1-2 punch in the sense that you're well balanced in the different types of fitness you do, and then you also have the holistic approach when it comes to nutrition, which I think most people, as we know, don't understand. It's just like, oh, do the keto thing, do the paleo thing, do the macro thing, which, again, not to knock any kind of diet trends or fads, but again, everybody's body is different when it comes to responding to food. And again, adding stress, family, all the other factors that play into it aren't usually taken into account. So we'll be sure to put all the ways you can connect with them on Instagram. Is there a YouTube channel by chance? Either of you?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, that has a lot of our movement demos and stuff on there. So that's just
okay.
The Fitness Coalition.
Okay, cool. We'll just be sure to whatever links so that people can get in contact with you and connect with you. And then our last two pieces before we sign out. One, if you both can think of, and I'm just curious to see if this would happen. If you both can think of that one client where you both kind of look at each other at the end of the day and be like, this is why we do what we do. Like, maybe there's a story. And again, out of the hundreds, if not thousands of folks that you've come across, have you both ever had like a moment or, maybe moments where one client specifically, not to say that this one's better than any of the others, but just off top, is there one client that comes to mind that you both know, like, yeah, that's one of the reasons we do what we do, or what keeps us going, or maybe, it was a success story, or maybe from the inside out, right? Maybe there was something internally that broke through because of your time together. Or is there one client that you both can think of that can do that has done that for you both?
I think Tina's a cool story.
Tina's a cool story.
Because she didn't even think that she would be around like more than 3 months.
Yeah, Drake too.
Yeah.
So if you could share a little bit about either or both.
Okay, so Tina is a
badass.
Yeah. How old
badass.
is
she? She's 62, I believe. She's in her 60s.
And she's a professional golfer. And she came to us.
And semi-pro tennis player.
Okay, semi-pro tennis player
Can't
as well.
forget that as well.
She came to us looking for, some coaching and like a program. And she was like, like, I'm probably only gonna be here like 3 or 4 months. I don't know. And she just kind of wasn't really a believer at tournaments. And she was like, my swing has gotten so much better and my body feels so much better. And
yep.
She really just lit up after a while. And I was like, you really surprised me, Tina, because I was not expecting that from you. And then still to this day, she's one of our most loyal clients. And she tells us all the time, like, the amazing things that are happening for her. She's like, I feel like I'm aging backwards. Like, this is all feeling so good. And I'm, my game has never been better. So I can't thank you both enough. I think she thanks me every time I see her. And it's just like the coolest thing to see, because everyone thinks that we're training these, giant strongmen and like female powerlifters, these like,
and that's just not the case.
Super stacked people all the time. That's not our client. Like, our clientele is,
primarily
a woman
women.
in her 60s. Like, it's the coolest thing. And I just love to see how what we do transfers over to real life and, making people better versions of who they are.
Yeah, I was just at a tournament of Tina's at the Green Valley Country Club, and it was a doubles tournament. So it was her and her partner, and there was another group that they were sharing a tee with. And the group that they were sharing a tee with, they were 17-year-olds. And Tina was out driving these 17-year-olds. And you would think, obviously, it would be the other way around, right? Like, oh, she's 60, whatever. 17-year-old, she's young. I mean, Tina was smacking these balls. I was like, oh my God. And she is like a celebrity at the golf course. I was like, oh yeah, I'm here to see Tina. It's like, oh, Tina? Oh, she's over there. Yeah. And like, everyone was like, Tina's so great. She's the club champion the last like 4 years. She's on the plaque, picture on the wall. I mean, like, it was crazy. And I had no idea how badass she was. But, yeah, she's been embracing everything that we do, and her training is constantly evolving. We're doing different stuff. She says she wants to drive further, so I've been switching her training up, doing different stuff, and she's hitting the ball further, and she's more consistent, and she's getting stronger, and she's living a better life than she was before she was training with us. So
Amazing. Yeah.
Good one, I would say. Yeah. Definitely.
Trust the process. Trust the process is so key, whether it's your training, whether it's your nutrition. And again, this isn't this overnight stuff. This is long term. And you both, again, are really showing us what that looks like. Again, it's still new even from a business perspective. You know, how many years old? Not even 10, right? You're still in, like, I always look at it like we're still, like, I'm only 5 years into business. I'm still a toddler when it comes to my business age. And so there's so much more growth that is going to happen if we're open to it. So, all right. So last thing before we get going, and for those of you on the stream watching, just thank you for being with us tonight. FTIO. Right. FTIO is from the inside out, and, you know, realize, and I always talk about the eyes of our heart, you know, like that, the value of healthy relationships. I always say, you know, realize with your realize, and then you fill in the blank. And I believe that everything starts from the inside. That change has to start from the inside. So what would be your FTIO message for the world? If you can bring it down to one thing. You gave us the top 5 kind of tips, strategies, mindsets. Great. But what would be like the one message you each get a chance to share? What would be your one FTIO message for the world? What would that be?
I think just to be more open to, you know, giving love and then receiving it. I think some of us are really good at giving, but when it comes to taking and, you know, feeling good on the inside and letting that compliment or that love or that feel good moment really hit and sink in, I think we need more of that. How about you?
Mine would be find what you're passionate about. Like what sets your soul on fire, what fills your cup, like what consumes you, like what brings you happiness, like whatever that is, and just go all in. That'd be because I feel a lot of people are scared or intimidated and don't give themselves that chance to just do the thing because they're too worried about what we're going to. We said that earlier, and I think that's a shame, and that makes me sad when people let other people's opinions keep them from doing something that they love, or not even start to try to pursue something because of worrying about what other people are going to think. So whatever it is that you love, even if it's the weirdest thing in the world, go all in because you got one shot at this life. So who cares what other people think? You know, don't let other people's opinions ruin your day because they don't live your life. So do your thing, whatever that thing is.
Absolutely, y'all. So as we get ready to wrap up, I just want to take this moment to acknowledge Lauren and Joey Hoey out of Benicia, California, doing really, really powerful things in their community. You just heard it, right? Just no more FOPO. Find what you love, go all in. And I love what you said, Lauren, right? It's this, we can give, but sometimes it's hard for us to receive. We call that the inner Martha, inner Mary struggle. Like Martha would always give, but Mary was the receiver. So just being willing to just take that and accept that. So as we are getting ready to sign out, I just want to thank you both for sharing your story, your journey with us. And I know that this is definitely just a beginning, like so many commonalities in marriage and in fitness and in just mindset that you definitely want to continue this relationship, even though I'll be on the other side of the country. And when you guys come out that way, when you both come out that way, you'll always have a spot. So with that, we are signing out from the Inside Out Live. Again, this will be available on YouTube, audio podcast coming soon. And again, thank you, Lauren and Joey Hoey, and we are out of here. Peace, y'all. Yeah, thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank you, man. Good talk. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.